Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Julian Green, CEO and co-founder of Headroom. Julian, welcome to the show.
Hello, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing today?
Couldn't be better.
Oh, awesome. Well, let's dive in here. So tell us a little bit about your background in SaaS.
Absolutely. Well, I've been doing technology startups now since '98 here in San Francisco. And my first SaaS experience, that's 5 startups and then some time at eBay and some time at Google from acquisitions of those startups. So my first SaaS experience was in 2004. I don't know if it was called SaaS then, but it was a eBay Stores, which was a subscription service that would allow eBay sellers to collect all their items together and have a storefront and be able to market and sell their products. Then the next SaaS business that I ran was called Pro Stores, and that was sort of the Shopify of its day. So that was to help people sell items on their own websites, and then to manage the different e-commerce channels, sort of multi-channel e-commerce, so that they could manage inventory and they could design their store and take payments and do customer service. And so really top to bottom e-commerce storefront solution. And, the previous generation of that was Paul Graham's, Y Combinator Paul Graham's Via Web, which Yahoo had bought, and that became Yahoo Stores. So Pro Stores took over from Yahoo Stores shortly after launching. We were, the #1 store solution. So that was a lot of fun. And since then, been doing a bunch of different businesses, some SaaS, and then a lot of AI. Driven businesses at Google and Google X, and a bunch of consumer apps. And so I've done a bunch of different things, but what I love about SaaS is if you give people what you want, then you see that come through in users and revenue, which is very rewarding.
Well, long career, and we can say, I don't know if, we called it SaaS in '04, not sure, but definitely a long run in technology here. And your background, is it in sales, marketing, management, technical? What's your background when you first started in technology?
So, by training was an engineer, went into consulting, then in technology, started off in business development, and then running sales forces, and then broadened out into running revenue lines, including marketing and product. And since then, general management, but always on the business side. And then at Google, fairly technical product management.
Okay. And then tell us about Headroom. You just raised some money, but tell us a little bit about what Headroom does.
Absolutely. So we have all been on quite a few virtual meetings lately. And we're using, 1990s technology, largely. And so what we're trying to do is solve the problem of fun and efficient virtual meetings. And that's what Headroom does. It's a video conferencing and meeting tool. And it helps you have both better meetings by trying to put back the humanity of the real world experience from, I want to put my hand up, I just put my hand up, you can see. I want to tell you I like what you're doing, I just give you a thumbs up. So just making it much more natural, having a real-time transcript so you're not missing anything, having the ability to easily note without typing like a maniac, and also getting feedback on how much people are speaking, various people are speaking, so you can be inclusive. And so that's for better meetings. And then what's interesting is after the meeting, you get an automatic replay, automatic transcript, automatic notes, automatic highlight reel. So you don't, no one ever has an hour to go back and look at their hour meeting that they missed. So instead you get a 6-minute highlight reel where you can just answer that question, what happened in the meeting? And so what we find, what's interesting with Headroom is that people are going to fewer meetings. So we want people to have fewer, better meetings, and they're watching them later, just like treating a meeting like a webinar. And they are sharing meetings with other people who need to know about them. So you get far fewer, in meetings, you get far fewer people who are just watching and listening. and you actually have people who are contributing, and then the other people can make use of that meeting information by searching it, sharing it, reviewing it in an efficient way. So no longer do you have to go to meetings just to find out information, but the meeting information can come to you.
Wow. Yeah, interesting, right? Because normally, for those listening, I record this on Zoom. We switched from Zoom to Headroom, so we're doing this right now on Headroom, which is really interesting, and seeing the real-time transcripts. So, as a layman in this technology, it seems like it's making, like you said, making meetings more efficient and just smarter in general.
Yeah, I mean, I used to sit there in meetings and literally try and sort of take down verbatim, what people were saying. And now, as you can see, I opened the transcript on the right, and it is transcribing in real time what I'm saying. If I pop out and come back, I can go back and look. If I didn't understand what someone said because they had an accent, sometimes the transcript will be able to help me with that. And then if you open the notes at the middle at the bottom, you can then just click on something that was said in the transcript, and it makes a note of it. So this is a shared note. So instead of having 3 different documents open with your materials and your notes and the video screen, instead you have everything all in one place.
Interesting, because I'm taking notes as we go through this, but you're saying really it can take the notes as it goes, or the transcript, and maybe you can tag things, and then you can pay attention to the meeting versus trying to scramble and type notes.
Yeah, we have this concept of sort of like freeing people from the keyboard, right? So hands-free meetings, and part of the problem with Zoom fatigue is you're an arm's length from a person's face, which is a very unnatural way to live your life. And so if you don't have to touch the keyboard anymore or do so much less frequently, then you're not stuck an arm's length away. You can be a bit more free and move around, and the day is less tiring. And then the other bit in meetings is if you click on the bottom left, there's a little eye. I can see in real time that I'm doing most of the talking, which I guess in an interview is okay. But in bigger meetings, I might notice that, interesting that Ben hasn't had a chance to voice his opinions, and that's important. And so I can, in real time, make my meetings better. There are a lot of products that will take a recording of a meeting and give you analytics like Gong or Chorus, and they'll say, you should have listened more. You're a salesperson. 50% of the time, you should probably be listening to the customer. And you go, like this. Okay, here's my favorite emoji, the face palm. But I should have listened more. But actually, with Headroom, it's like a real time, Gong. You can react in real time.
Yeah, no, really interesting. As a CFO, I'm kind of a student of sales and marketing and product market fit. So how, what is the market reaction feedback from prospects when you see this? Because, right, we know like Zoom, right, took off during the pandemic, others, Teams, all that stuff, and just huge growth. And now everybody, is on some sort of conferencing platform. So what kind of reaction are you getting from folks as you push this out there? And it's another platform. Obviously it's different, but what's that feedback that you're getting?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Zoom became sort of the default, name and verb, and you Zoom each other, right? And so it's got great brand awareness, and all those people who are forced online by COVID, what shall I use? I guess I'll use Zoom, and they made it pretty easy to get online. To get on a video conference and see and hear each other with good quality. We think that the next stage is having smarter meetings. So we're not just sending pixels, but we're helping people make sense of them, just like humans do in real life. And so the reaction from people is, well, I know Zoom and I'm trying something new. What is really interesting is the people who have been using Zoom to look at recordings or to look at transcripts or to try and get analytics of their meetings, so who are already interested in smarter meetings, usually are having some frustrations. So moving big media files around is a pain in the, and you run out of storage and it's expensive. And then, the transcripts aren't great. We do a lot of work to make them as accurate as possible. And so what we're finding is people who are interested in going back to look at meeting information already hungry for a new solution. So they're very eager to try something new. And once they do, and they, if it works for them, then they're believers, which is great. So, a lot of people know Zoom, like Zoom, but nobody says video conferencing is solved, meetings are solved. I don't need to have better meetings, right?
Yeah, I could imagine. First, it's like, all right, yeah, we've got to get on a platform now in the pandemic, and now it's like, gosh, we live in these platforms now, and there's got to be a better way, I'm guessing. So, yeah, really interesting.
There has to be a better way. And, some of the interesting groups, salespeople love this. If a salesperson wants to transfer a customer to customer success, they need a cloud, video permissions way to do that. And that's made easy on Headroom. User research interviews or recruiting interviews, agencies, maybe even, fractional, CFOs who have a lot of clients and want to monitor a lot of conversations, don't have someone to help them, take notes or organize their follow-ups. Those people are the hungriest for smarter meetings.
Yeah, I can see a lot of use cases there. So yeah, totally get it. So tell us a little bit about the company. So when were you founded? When did you start?
So we started this just before COVID.
Oh, great timing.
And in 2020, we raised $5 million in July 2020 from Gradient, which is Google's AI fund, and from LDV, a computer vision focused fund, and from Jerry Yang through Murado Ventures and Amy Cloud. And then we essentially built the product over year and a half. And we've been piloting it with a bunch of people, and on the basis of getting to, knowing that we had the right product for the right users, we then just raised a $9 million round. And we raised that from Equal Opportunity Ventures and then all of our existing investors and some angels. And so we're now at 14 people, and we've added, with the latest funding, we've added a business team to what was largely a product and engineering team. So we're super excited now with this round and with this team to get the message out of this product that can help you have better meetings.
Yeah. And then you're based in San Francisco. Is the team based in San Francisco, or is it remote?
So we've been fully remote from day one. We've never had an office, and we have people. Interestingly, we've stuck to the North America time zone, or I would say the Americas time zone. So we have people across the U.S. We have people in Canada. We have people in Mexico. We have someone in Colombia. And we find at this scale that helps with people in similar time zones, helps us have enough overlap that we can, without too much management, can get enough time with each other every day. And as a company trying to solve virtual meetings for remote workers, we live remote work every day. We have all the same problems, and we use the same technology stack, and so we feel that's a great fit for what we're trying to do, and we really believe in the future of remote work. And obviously there's times when you want to get together. We travel to meet up and socialize and form relationships, and that's really important. But the no commute, you live in the Bay Area, or the commute here, right? And so, or you've been to the Bay Area.
Just a bit of traffic, right?
Yeah. And so we believe strongly in remote work, so we're fully remote.
Okay, yeah, that makes complete sense. And so, as far as revenue, are you still in kind of that testing phase? Or do you have revenue now or pre-revenue? Where are you there?
So we're still not charging for the product. We're post pilot. It's generally available. We haven't started large scale marketing efforts. That's going to happen in the next couple of months, and then we plan to charge in the new year and build the business as we scale.
Okay. And then, so you mentioned, how much have you raised? Is it the 5 million plus the 9, so 14 in total capital?
I can see why you're a CFO.
Yeah. Some simple math there. So, and were those, would you consider it like a pre-seed and seed, or seed and Series A, or just, hey, we raised?
So we call them seed and seed plus. I think, an A is more when you're earning revenue. And so we don't think we're quite there yet. If you think about what we've built and the opportunity, we've been relatively ambitious. So we've built a combination of Zoom, Slack, Google Calendar, Otter for transcripts, YouTube for business videos. And so we've really created an all-in-one place SaaS product across everything you need for a good meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. And so 14 million raised, deploying that, building out a biz team next, or in the process, start charging next year. And, a little different. I interviewed someone who had a no-code platform, and they raised, 40 million with no revenue, but a little different, right? Build the community and then monetize that community later.
Yeah.
And so what was your fundraising strategy with this to try to raise, where you're building the product first, then testing versus kind of seeing if you can monetize it? So what was your philosophy towards these raises?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important when you raise money to know what you're trying to achieve with it, and for you and the investors to be on the same page. A lot of problems happen when what they thought you were going to do and what you thought you were going to do are not the same thing. So we're very specific on the milestones we're trying to achieve. Essentially, the first round that we raised was on the back of a prototype, and the goal was to turn that prototype into a product and demonstrate that someone liked it. And so, we did that. And then this round we just raised, the goal is to demonstrate that we can acquire and retain users at a scale that is interesting enough to believe that you should then do a Series A.
Makes sense. And then you've been in the tech world for a long time now, and for the founders, say finance teams listening out there, any fundraising lessons or tips and tricks along the way? I love what you just said about making sure you're aligned with those investors as far as what milestones you're trying to achieve with that investment. This recent seed plus round, now demonstrate that we can have a repeatable sales process, acquisition process, retain those customers. So anything that, what do you would like to share around tips and tricks that might help founders in the audience?
Yeah, I mean, sort of, the cliche is always be raising. And you are, as a founder, the company's number one salesperson, both for customers and for recruits and for investors. And so what is interesting, as this is my fifth startup, is how rapidly both the investing environment can change, but then also specifically to what you're doing, how rapidly what people think of that can get more positive or more negative, right? And so you mentioned no code. No code is something that is very interesting to people right now. It seems like a good time in the technology cycle for no code approaches, and so they're being able to raise a bunch of money. We're fortunate in that, one way or another, COVID has made virtual meetings at the very center of everybody's life. So the biggest problem you have as a startup is people ignoring you and not paying attention. So we have no problem with folks ignoring us. Everyone's interested in what we're doing. But you still have to be opportunistic, because the environment can change, obviously, from the end of 2021 to the start of 2022. Valuations were off, 30%, and LPs were telling VCs to not invest and to keep their powder fresh because they were going to need it to extend the life of their existing investments. And so, that's a pretty dramatic change in environment, and you're going to get those every so often. So you've got to stay ahead. You never want to get 3 months to go and you're in a crunch, and then you have some uncomfortable conversations. So and then the other thing that's interesting is we talked about milestones. Is what people perceive as a milestone. So you sort of have to have a pulse. It would be great to have a group of people who you're saying, hey, I just did this. Is that interesting? I just did this. Is that interesting? And then, you might find it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great milestone. Maybe you're ready for the next phase. So sort of a constant conversation where you're communicating what you're up to and having feedback from the market on whether that's enough to have someone give you some money.
Yeah, love it. Great advice, tips and tricks, with your long career in tech. And then tell us, as we wrap up here, what's next for your company? What's exciting that's coming up for you guys?
Yeah, well, on the total business side, we talked about that phase of acquiring and retaining customers at scale. So a bunch of marketing and communication with customers, a team working with customers on the customer support side and helping make them successful. We're a PLG go-to-market, so sort of the PLG playbook. We do have whole organizations we're observing joining rather than, just users, because obviously in many cases people do meetings with other people in their company. And so we need to think a little bit more about, how to handle teams and organizations as well as individual users, which is a sort of a natural progression for a PLG SaaS company. At some point, I think adding sales would make sense, but, we sort of want to push ourselves to make sure that we can make the product experience and onboarding compelling for individual users, and then scale it up.
Okay, and right, PLG, very hot right now, or a lot of talk at least about PLG or product-led growth. So with your kind of playbook, invest in marketing, invest in that funnel. Don't really need those sales reps talking to people yet, but getting people into the product and pushing them through expansion within your product.
So I think of Atlassian when I think of this. They have what they think of as inside sales. What they're doing is they're helping people who are signed up or active to their product become way more active, right? And maybe growing through those organizations. And so I think that's I think of customer success. I think of salespeople as customer success people in some ways, right? And so I think that's people who've already said, "Hey, I'm interested in your product." You want them to be as successful as you possibly can, right? That's the first step. And then those who don't yet know about your product or haven't yet elected that they're interested, that's more the outbound, enterprise sales motion. I think that comes after that.
Okay. Really interesting, right? People, addressing PLG in different ways. So love to have that insight.
I mean, it's pretty clear the sales adds to, your activity. I think it's good. Atlassian, has this discipline where, if they force themselves to make existing customers successful first, then that really drives, your product priorities. And especially when you're small, I mean, it can be company making to have a really good customer take you in a particular direction, but you can also chase, stuff that doesn't work out.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. So as we wrap up here, Julian, really appreciate the time and telling us about Headroom and your story. And if people want to learn more about Headroom, where's the best place for them to look online?
You can go to www.goheadroom.com, Headroom.com, and that's where you can learn about the product, and then you can just sign up for free and try it in the browser, no download required, and we'll be happy to help you if you need.
That's perfect. So go to goheadroom.com, and for those people watching this video right now, we're actually recording this on Headroom, which is great. So Julian, really appreciate the time. Thank you for sharing your SaaS story.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ben.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah.